Welcome to the Trevor Meyer Show. I'm Trevor Meyer, and today we're going to talk about Captain America: Brave New World. All right, I'm going to try something new this time. I am going to try to do this all in one take with no editing. There might be some cuts in there somewhere in case I get interrupted or something, or if I have to continue filming tomorrow. But for the most part, I'm going to try to keep this as much raw footage as possible because as much as I love editing, I love it a little too much. I spend too much time in the editing room, and it takes forever. I used to publish only one long-form video a year because of how much time I spent in the editing room. And I thought, surely, you can't just release videos unedited. And then I realized so many of the YouTube shows that I watch are unedited. Like the Angry Joe Show, for example. That's just like a live stream. So basically, we're going to treat this like a live stream, except it's not live. Nobody's watching right now. It's just us. So you're watching this, but that's in the future, but also now. Okay, so I've also got this Captain America statue, but his arm broke off. It's okay, though. We're going to get a new one made of vibranium. He'll be just fine. So, Captain America: Brave New World. One of the reasons why I want to do these things unedited is because I'm trying to stay on top of this. I'm trying to be like a professional reviewer that gets it done the day of somehow. Go see it opening night and then have a review ready the next day. But I'm filming this on a phone because honestly the camera is a lot better than the one on my laptop. And I just got this phone. I was waiting for it to arrive. It was a few days late. So now that I have it, I can't wait to tell you my belated thoughts on Captain America: Brave New World. And there is an advantage to doing it this way. After I've seen all of the reviews come out, I can add to the conversation rather than just repeating what has been said before, although I will do that also. I will also repeat what has been said before. I also disagree with some of the stuff that's been said so far. So, let's dive in. The non-spoiler section here is going to be, hey, if you like spectacle, if you like Marvel, if you just want to have a good time and don't think too hard, sure, go see it. I don't know. If you haven't seen it yet, they could use the help. All right? So, yeah, go check it out. It's fine the first time-ish. You know, so if you're not that excited or if you don't want to go to the movie theater right now, just wait. It'll be on Disney Plus soon. All right. That's it. That's the non-spoiler section. Go see it if you want. If not, no biggie. All right. Spoilers. 3, 2, 1. We are now in the spoiler section. The reason I spend so much time on spoilers is because I honestly can't tell the difference between what is a spoiler and what is not a spoiler. You could say that if it's in the trailer, then it's not a spoiler. However, people often accuse the trailer of spoiling things, so how can that be? If it's in the trailer, it's by definition not a spoiler. So I just consider everything a spoiler. I figure everything that happens, I just want to talk freely, uncensored, about this movie. So, let's start with Sam Wilson, Captain America. All right? I like him as Captain America. It's a shame that this was the way that he was introduced to the world. I know he was technically Captain America on Falcon and Winter Soldier. I don't know how many people actually watched that show. And it's actually pretty disposable. You can skip right past it because Endgame ends with him getting the shield, becoming Captain America, kind of. I mean, it's implied that he's going to be Captain America. It's been passed. The torch has been passed. So then, when you get to Falcon and Winter Soldier, he's struggling with it, and then eventually embraces it. But if you don't know that he struggled with it, then you can just go straight to it. But here's the thing, all right? I hate it when they throw away an introduction. When they introduce a character with a nothing scene that accomplishes nothing. And they did that this time. And I don't understand it. I really don't understand it. They could have made his first scene in the movie flying past the camera. And then landing, saying, wait for it. And then the shockwave hits people inexplicably. I don't know if that's like a Wakanda thing or Like, why does the shockwave take 4 seconds to hit them? But that's not what they did. That's the second scene that he's in. The first scene, he's just like grabbing a beer and the bartender says, "No charge, Cap." It's like, what was the point of that scene? To show that people like him? Make that the second scene. After he does all the Captain America stuff, just have him go to a bar or something. I don't know. Why was that your reveal? You threw away a reveal. I mean, because you could have built up a little bit of tension. I know. Anybody who's not living under a rock knows that Sam Wilson is Captain America now. But within the narrative of the film, it would make sense to kind of hold back a little bit. To some part of your brain forgets that Captain America is Anthony Mackie now, is Sam Wilson now. So you could have them talking about Captain America, say, Captain America's on his way. Captain America's coming in. Oh, he's coming in for a landing. And then he lands and his helmet comes off and it's Sam Wilson. And some part of you is like, oh yeah. Now I know that because some part of me was like that during the nothing introduction scene that they actually gave him. They had a little clip of President Ross saying, he's had conflicts with other superheroes, including Captain America. I'm like, yeah, Steve Rogers. And they show a picture of Anthony Mackie. I'm like, right, yes, that Captain America. Gotcha, okay. So, like, some part of me just, like, tuned out. And it would have been a great reveal for people who are maybe seeing the Marvel Universe for the first time. You know, if you go forward 5, 10, 30 years and have some kid who's never seen the Marvel movies go through them, they might actually be just like those people who think, like, they're surprised to find out that Darth Vader is Luke's father. Those people still exist right now. They're watching Empire Strikes Back and they're like, what? Darth Vader is Luke's father? So for those people who are not in the know, they might get to Captain America 4 and say, oh, is Steve Rogers back? And then boom, he lands and it's not him. That would have been a great reveal, but they just throw it away. So enough of that. Here's the thing. They tried to give Anthony Mackie something to work with, something to distinguish him from Steve Rogers. And one of the ways that they did that was to have him be a counselor, the way he was when he was, working with veterans in Winter Soldier. So they kind of threw away a better ending, perhaps. And we're in the spoiler section, so whatever. When he gets to the end with Red Hulk, they chose to emphasize one particular aspect of Sam Wilson. And I think his character actually would have been better served if they had focused on a different aspect of him. So, what they focused on was having him be a counselor. They focused on him talking down Red Hulk and being empathetic toward him and getting him to calm down and turn back into Ross. Now, that kind of works. I see the merit in it. Also, he did it alone because he's trying to prove himself as Captain America. Fine. However, there is a plausibility issue with Sam Wilson fighting a Hulk. Mainly that's a mismatch. Like Iron Man versus the Hulk without a Hulkbuster suit. Hulk wins. Steve Rogers versus the Hulk. Hulk wins. Thor versus Hulk. It varies. Depends on where Thor's at emotionally. But, so what they could have done is had reinforcements show up. They could have had a cavalry moment at the end of the movie. They could have had a sort of mini Avengers team up happen at the end of it. So Sam Wilson could have been beaten to a bloody pulp by the Hulk, by Red Hulk. And it would have been a little bit more like Winter Soldier or Civil War, or Endgame, where Steve Rogers, they always said, Steve Rogers is at his best when he's Rocky Balboa, when he's beaten to a bloody pulp by the end of it, like he's been through hell. and he's not just getting through the whole thing unscathed. So have that happen to this Captain America, to Anthony Mackie, Sam Wilson's Captain America, and then have Falcon show up, the new Falcon, we'll talk about him in a second, and the new Black Widow, not Yelena, the other one, and yes, people have said it before, Isaiah Bradley, the 1970s Captain America, the one that happened while Steve Rogers was frozen. Have all of them come back and work together to fight the Hulk. And in the end, you can still have Betty Ross come in and calm him down. And she'd be like the last piece of the puzzle. Only downside I can think of to that is that it's very similar to Justice League. Justice League did the same thing when Superman went crazy. And they brought in Lois Lane. So the Justice League fights him. They lose. And then Lois Lane comes in to calm him down. So I could immediately see the comparisons to that. But people weren't thrilled about this version either, the one that they actually did. So, and you can do the same thing, but better. Like, people could have said that Captain America Civil War was too similar to Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. But Captain America Civil War did a better version of it. All right? So, yeah, it would bear some similarities to Justice League, but if you do it better, if you do a well-executed, well-written version of that, it doesn't really matter if it's similar to what's already been done in Justice League. So, why do I say this? Because we need to establish a different trait in Sam Wilson. You might say, oh man, if you bring in all these other characters, you really diminish Sam Wilson's role as Captain America. He needs to prove that he can be worthy of the shield. But you know what else he needs to prove? That he can lead the Avengers. So give him a little mini team of Avengers and show him as a leader. Show him as a military leader who can handle giving orders even if he's not the strongest one on the team. All right? That's what Steve Rogers did. Yeah, he had Thor, he had Iron Man, he had Hulk on his team. Steve Rogers was not the strongest Avenger. But he could lead the team because he had experience working with the team. It's kind of like Spider-Man No Way Home. When you have the three Spider-Men working together, who is the most qualified to lead the team? The one who's been on a team before and wasn't just doing things solo. All right? So that gave the Tom Holland Spider-Man a chance to lead a team. And that's what they could have done with Sam Wilson. They could have made him a leader in the final act instead of going it alone and being a counselor, which is fine. That's one quality. And maybe they could have used that earlier in the film. It's a smaller facet of his character to make him a counselor and to give him empathy. But we need to establish that he's a leader if he's going to be the leader of the Avengers in the future. All right. So we got to hint at that. Don't call them the Avengers. They don't have to be the Avengers. But he has a team. He could have had a team of, what was it, Falcon, Widow, other Captain America. So at least three. Oh, and I thought maybe this would be a stretch because I think that he just popped in for a cameo and it was probably a reshoot. But they could have brought in Bucky. They could have brought in Bucky just for the third act, just for the final fight. So then you have, it's kind of a team of Captain Americas-ish, you know? You have the Sam Wilson Captain America. You have a Bucky, future Captain America. You have Isaiah Bradley, past Captain America. And Falcon, I don't know, he's Falcon, you know, and the other Falcon became Captain America. The point is, it's a Captain America. It's like Team Captain America. It's a Captain America-centric team. And that would have been a more believable fight. They'd still probably lose against a Red Hulk, but it would be more believable if they teamed up against him. And then the checkmate is Betty Ross comes in, and she's the one who calms down the Red Hulk, okay? So, speaking of Red Hulk, I just have to address this point, because a lot of people keep saying it, and I really don't get this one. I really don't get it. That the marketing was deceptive. That they put Red Hulk in everything and made it look like he was in more of the movie than he actually was. I don't get that at all. just to check, I looked at all the trailers today, and he's like in 1 second of the first teaser. He's in like 5 seconds of the other ones, and they save him for the very end of all the trailers. It's perfectly in proportion with the actual movie. Now, I know you could say, well, the poster has him on it. They did the popcorn buckets and all that stuff. I don't get the popcorn bucket culture. It's just another thing to buy. But yeah, they put him on the poster. But if you're selling the climax of the movie, you know, like if Captain America is going to fight Iron Man, you put Captain America and Iron Man on the poster. If Anakin Skywalker is going to fight Obi-Wan Kenobi at the end of episode 3, you put that on the poster. Spoiler or not, that's the climax of the movie. That's what it's all building up to. So why wouldn't you put that on the poster? So, but the trailers are like 95% conspiracy and 5%, oh God, there's a Red Hulk. So I just don't get it. Why were people feeling like this was on Marvel, that Marvel's marketing department misled them? That doesn't make any sense to me at all. If you went in thinking you were going to get more Red Hulk, I'm sorry, but that's kind of on you. I don't think Marvel did anything to suggest that it was going to be the whole movie that he was in or half the movie. Clearly, it was just the one sequence. Like, I don't think any of the marketing material was deceptive about that. Now that I got that out of my system, let's talk about Falcon for a second. Joaquin Torres. I don't like him. He was kind of annoying. They could have gone a little bit deeper with his character. They could have treated him more seriously, made it more like the relationship between Steve and Sam, and how they were like really close friends based on shared experience and not just banter. They could have had conversations. They could have gone a little bit deeper. And that was one of the big differences between Brave New World and The Winter Soldier, is Winter Soldier went deep with its relationships and its conflicts and its themes. And Brave New World went shallow with it. You know? The Isaiah Bradley character was one of the best parts of the movie, but it was shallow. They didn't go very deep into that relationship. And if you go back and watch Winter Soldier, he goes, into deep philosophical conversations and debates with Nick Fury. He has arguments with Pierce. He gets close with Sam. He has flashbacks to Bucky. It's heart-wrenching that I'm with you to the end of the line, pal. That hits you. And they just go deeper into every relationship. Even just a simple scene with Peggy Carter in the hospital or Sharon Carter in the hallway. Just little character moments that build up. And you get little tastes of it. They barely scratch the surface with the characters. Like they have a training montage with Isaiah Bradley. And the scene where he visits him in jail is pretty touching. But they just barely touch on it. They don't have a real conversation. Joaquin Torres at the end, he's like, I always wanted to be Falcon. And I'm like, why? It would have been great if he had a reason for wanting to be like Falcon. Because I think of the Hawkeye TV show where little Hawkeye is watching big Hawkeye on the TV. Or is it in real life? I think it was in real life. I can't remember that show. But she was like, I want to be like him because he's the normal guy who can stand amongst all of these gods and aliens and rage-induced monsters. But so I would have just done the Joaquin Torres character a little bit differently in terms of just plot. Just plotting. Not even how he's written. I would have had him not be Falcon for the first 3/4 of the movie, 2/3 of the movie. Same thing with Sam Wilson. Say he gets the wingsuit on the TV show, but he doesn't put it on yet. He's still in training. And we talk about it in dialogue that he's still in training. And he kind of tags along with Sam on his adventure the same way that Black Widow tags along with Steve in The Winter Soldier. But he doesn't suit up, all right? He doesn't suit up, and instead of taking him out in the third act, which is what they did, have him come in the Falcon suit for the third act. Have him be the cavalry. Have him be like, it's time to finally put on the suit. You're ready. Do it. Join the team. Join our team Captain America. So, and then Isaiah Bradley, again, he could have been released once they found out that everything was mind control, and then he would have been free in the third act to maybe put on an old Captain America suit, maybe not, maybe just wear his regular clothes, and have the other Black Widow character come in, and maybe, if you can do it, get Bucky back and have him join in the fight. So, yeah, I just would have. They just throw everything away. Like, Falcon comes in and he's nothing. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a pointless reveal. He's just, I guess he's the new Falcon now. And they could have built tension. That's the thing that Winter Soldier did. And I know I'm comparing it to Winter Soldier, but to be fair, they tried to make this movie like the Winter Soldier. So I'm pointing out why they failed. All right? So the Winter Soldier was so good at building tension. There was so much of not much happening, but you got the sense that something was building underneath the surface. And when it finally broke, when it finally all fell apart, it meant something. And Brave New World just kind of throws everything at you all at once. And there's no tension, there's no timing, there's no pacing. Now, let's talk about the villain for a second. Samuel Stearns. Hero and villain, both named Sam. They don't talk about that much. But there was a big missed opportunity, and I know that people are talking about the fact that this is basically a Hulk sequel. Incredible Hulk sequel. And I don't really have a problem with that. I don't really have a problem with the fact that they never contacted Bruce Banner and brought him into it, because I don't think that Sam Wilson had a good reason to bring Bruce Banner into it, because by the time Red Hulk becomes a problem, it needed to be dealt with right away. And even when Samuel Stearns comes around, did you need Bruce Banner to deal with that? Did it have anything to do with him? Like, was there really any reason to bring Bruce Banner into it? I don't think so. Until the end, but they couldn't have known that was going to happen. That being said, there was a huge missed opportunity. If you're gonna use a Captain America movie as a Hulk vessel, because legally they're not allowed to make standalone Hulk movies anymore without Universal's help, can't we talk about the fact that Bruce Banner's serum that he used to become the Incredible Hulk was supposed to be a recreation of the Captain America serum? Because did they say that in Brave New World? I don't remember ever hearing that anywhere in Brave New World. That would have been the connective tissue that you needed. They put it in the Avengers and in the Incredible Hulk. In the Incredible Hulk, they were talking about their super soldier division and how they were trying to recreate Erskine's original formula. And they didn't quite get it right. They got the serum a little bit wrong, and they used gamma rays instead of Vita rays. And it messed everything up. So some kind of connective tissue between the Captain America serum and the Hulk serum. The process of creating a Captain America and the process of creating a Hulk. And that's one of the things I have an issue with these heart pills that Ross takes. It's just gamma radiation? Because that wasn't what made the Hulk, not in this continuity. Not just gamma radiation, the serum. The serum they injected him with made him into a Hulk. So if they had brought that up, if they had said that, the pills were a super soldier serum or something, or a gamma-infused super soldier serum, or it was made from Bruce Banner's blood that he had a bunch of in Incredible Hulk because he had synthesized it, or he concentrated Bruce Banner's blood and mass-produced it. That stuff, bring that stuff in and connect it to Captain America's mythology. Because it doesn't feel connected. If you could make those connections, That would be a good idea. And especially, speaking of connections, it's an odd choice that the loose ends that they chose to tie up were, first and foremost, Incredible Hulk and also The Eternals, both of which flopped at the box office. So you decided to base your entire premise of this Captain America movie that you really needed to do well to launch the next phase of the MCU. I don't know what phase we're in anymore. It was kind of a new era of the MCU. It's a new Captain America. It's bringing everything together for these future Avengers films. And he chose to base it around two of the very few Marvel films that flopped at the box office. And gosh, Brave New World might be another one. So they have their own little tiny little pocket universe of Marvel flops. They can all hang out together, like in the void. So, have we established that Sam Wilson can lead the Avengers? No, we could have, but we didn't. The Ruth character, the ex-Black Widow, she was going to be Sabra. They changed that midstream because of the real-world political controversy. Fair. That conflict's been going on for a while in real life, though, so if they were going to back out, they maybe should have just picked a different character to begin with. Now, who else is in this movie? Oh, yeah. Well, there's this other character. Hang on, let me check my notes here. Hang on. What? All right. Oh, we got to get to Sidewinder, too. Completely forgot about him. That should tell you all you need to know about his character. But Leila Taylor, who is important in the comics, all right? Leila Taylor is important in the comics. She is apparently Sam Wilson's love interest. She does nothing in this movie, though. She could have been combined with the Ruth character, with the ex-Black Widow character. And you could say they're laying the groundwork for a future film where, like, in the future, she's going to have more to do. I really hate it when comic book movies do that, though. When they throw away something as a reference, not even just comic book movies. That happened in Star Trek as well. They had a reference to Nurse Chapel, but then later they needed to talk about Nurse Chapel in a different way, and it didn't match up, and it just wasn't worth the continuity error for just a little Easter egg, And same thing happened with Spider-Man. In the original Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, they said, Eddie's been on it for weeks. We can barely get a glimpse of the guy. Clearly a reference to Eddie Brock, which is a nice little Easter egg, but it tied their hands for when they made Spider-Man 3, because in Spider-Man 3, they hadn't decided what story they were going to tell yet. So Eddie Brock comes in as a new employee to the Daily Bugle. I was going to say Daily Planet. Daily Bugle. And they've never heard of him before. So that Eddie from the first one is not Eddie Brock. So it's just hardly ever worth it to just throw out a little Easter egg that ties your hands storytelling-wise for future installments. So if this character, Layla, is going to become important in future Captain America movies, and she does nothing in this one, just save her for later. Let those writers decide how they want to introduce her. Because maybe this doesn't gel well with what any future storytellers are going to want to do with her. All right, Sidewinder. If there's any marketing that was deceptive, that made it look like something was going to be a bigger element than it actually was, it's Sidewinder. Giancarlo Esposito. Some people say Giancarlo. I assume it's like Jean-Luc Picard. It's Giancarlo, I think. Yeah, the trailers had him all over the place. It looked like he was going to be the main villain. And he's in like 3 scenes in the movie. He's barely in it. He's just one notch above like Crossbones in Civil War. It's kind of a glorified cameo, really. So, if anything, that's the character who I'm like, man, I thought he was going to be in more of this or be more important. And going back to the Sam Stearns character again, the leader, I like the look that they gave him. I was surprised by it. It looked cooler than I thought it would. I know some people thought it looked stupid, like an old sci-fi movie. Having seen the concept art and the comics, I was worried that he would have a giant head and a goatee and have green skin and just look kind of silly looking. He looked kind of scary in this version, which I liked better. And yeah, it's a little comic booky. It's a little silly, but even Winter Soldier had those moments like Zola. He's a AI on an old computer screen, many computer screens. So it's a kind of campy element. But in the end, his plan comes down to ruining the reputation of Ross. So as Marvel movies go, the stakes were pretty low. Usually, again, back to Winter Soldier, millions of people are going to die. Avengers, millions of people are going to die. Iron Man 3. Yeah, a lot of people are going to die. He's creating supply and demand for the war on terror. Usually in a Marvel movie, a lot of people are going to die. So what the hero does is sincerely heroic. Stearns' plan is kind of small and petty. I mean, maybe a good influence would have been Skyfall. If they had paid a little bit closer attention to Skyfall, maybe Stearns' plan would have had a little bit more bite to it. Because Skyfall is one of the best James Bond movies ever made, and it's all about M. It's all about getting at M. It's a very small story. It's not about killing hundreds of thousands of people. It's just about getting revenge on one person that James Bond kind of cares about. So, handled more correctly, it could have been that. But it wasn't. And, some people are saying that Stearns' plan is convoluted and that there were much quicker routes to his goal of destroying Ross's reputation. I don't know. He had a very specific way that he wanted to do it. Yeah, he could have just killed Ross. He could have just poisoned his pills. He could have just said, "Hey, take these heart pills." Or if he never had a heart condition, he did have a heart condition for real, right? He wasn't lying about that. So if he did have a heart condition, just not give him the heart medicine, and then he would have died. But he had a little bit of a theatrical nature to him. He wanted to do something extreme and bring a lot of attention and ruin his life. And then Leader just turns himself in and goes back to jail, which I think he was trying to avoid in the first place. He was mad that he got locked up for 17 years and now he's back in jail again, I guess. So maybe he should have run away instead of turning himself in. Post-credit scene, nothing happens. It's just telling us what we already know. Anything else in this? Adamantium. Are all Celestials full of adamantium? Is it just the one that came out of the water? I did not see Eternals. I'm sorry. I'm part of the problem. I'm one of the reasons why it flopped. But is there adamantium in Guardians of the Galaxy in that Celestial? Is Peter Quill full of adamantium? Was Ego full of adamantium? Where did this adamantium come from? Like, is it all Celestials or just that one? Somebody explain it to me, please. I didn't watch Eternals. Well, yeah, Isaiah Bradley, again, great character. Could have done more. Could have pushed it further. Could have done a little bit better. I'm leaving that in. I'm telling you, unedited, man. It's like a live stream. And yeah, Betty Ross was in it. Could have done more. Didn't. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not terribly interesting. It's not a terribly interesting story. It has the feel of a Winter Soldier, but just fails in every way of replicating it. I know there were some issues with the power level of Sam Wilson, how he struggles to fight a normal person and he also struggles to fight a Hulk. That kind of makes sense with the way his armor works. Like, the harder he gets hit, the harder he can hit back. I don't really understand how that armor works. Does he still take the hits? Does it absorb all of it or just some of it? I'm not really sure. I think he still take damage, but some of it gets absorbed and can get pushed back out to the other person. So that's kind of an equalizer, I guess. So if a weaker person fights him, he doesn't store up as much energy. Whereas if a really strong person fights him, he has more energy to throw at them. So, yeah. Action was good. It was fine. I know that some people have complained about how slow the action is, like the fist fighting just on the ground, when there's not a lot of CGI and it's just people, fisticuffs. I think they could have sped it up a little bit in post. And I can't confirm this, but I'm pretty sure that in like the Creed movies, especially Creed 2 and Creed 3, they undercranked it a little bit or overcranked it, I don't know, when they were shooting it, and then when they play it back at normal speed, it's just a little bit faster. And you can tell that those fights in Creed 2 and Creed 3, those fights are just a little bit faster than they were when they were shooting it. And I think that would have helped if they just sped it up just a little bit, just to make it look a little bit, punchier. No pun intended. And yeah, the ending with Joaquin and Sam is me. I don't know. It's just Winter Soldier had one of the best endings ever, because I thought when Black Widow handed Steve the file and said, you might not want to pull on that thread, that we were going to go into another sequence, that it was going to be like Die Hard with a Vengeance, where bad guy gets away, we think that the heroes have lost him, and then they get one last lead, and then they go confront him. And I thought that's what was going to happen in the Winter Soldier. I'm like, oh, it's not over yet. We're going to go after Bucky now. And then Sam says, when do we start? Boom, smash to credits. I'm like, oh, that was such a great cliffhanger. That was such a great lead in to the next movie. And this one just fizzles out. I got the sense that they were just improvising in that hospital, that they were just riffing, and then just like when the scene ran out of steam, they cut to credits, which is how I'm going to do it here. Yeah, I'm just going to keep talking until I peter out and just run out of energy. And once you get a sense that there's really nothing left to say, you just cut to credits. And then maybe have a post-credit scene. Multiverse.